Hi. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to install Android Studio on Windows. So to begin with, I have my web browser open to developer.android.com/SDK. And you can see that once we get here, it recognizes the type of operating system that I am using and gives me the option to download the proper version of Android Studio. Now before you do that, you want to check the system requirements. So I'm going to tap that. It's just going to scroll down further in the page, and this shows you the requirements for running the Android Studio on a Windows machine. So you want to make sure that you meet these minimum requirements, otherwise you will run into problems when you're trying to install it and run it. So I'm going to scroll back up to the top and click the link to download Android Studio for Windows. Now it gives me the terms and conditions, which I've already read, so I'm going to come down and choose that I've read and download Android Studios for Windows. Okay, now depending on the browser that you're using and how you have things set up to be saved, it is going to go to different places. So I'm using Internet Explorer, and it says, do you want to run or save it? So I'm just going to click run to go ahead and start the installation from here. Okay, and you can see it'll take a couple minutes. I'm going to pause and then we'll come back when it's completed. Okay, now we get to the Android Studio setup. And I'm just going to click next. We choose the components, and for our purposes we're going to install everything. So we'll click next, and the terms and conditions we'll have to agree to. And then these are the terms and conditions for Intel, so I'm going to click agree. These are the location of where your files are going to be stored. So we've got two places. We've got your program files going into Android, Android Studio, and then the SDK installation location, and you want to take note of where that is going. So I'm just going to leave the defaults in here and click next. Okay, and then emulator setup. This is a nice feature. In previous versions of Android Studio, we had to go in and create an initial emulator to be able to test your apps on. So now we're going to get at least one, and we'll look at how to create other types of emulators. But I'm just going to leave the default here, and we'll click next. And start menu folder, I'll just leave as Android Studio, click install. Okay, now it's going to go through the extraction and installation process. And again, I'm just going to pause the video while this goes through. Okay, when the installation is complete, we'll see setup was completed successfully, and we can click next, and you can go in and do start Android Studio and finish. And I'm just going to choose I don't have a previous version, or I don't want to import my settings, so we'll click OK. And I got a Windows security alert, and I'm going to allow this. So I'm going to click Allow Access. Okay, now we're in the Android Setup Wizard, and I'm going to stop here because we'll have another video that will go through the entire process of setting up a new app.